Yo, what's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, what's going on, y'all? So I finally had a moment to check out Last Chance You, episode 7. I do apologize. I've been so like it's just been crazy in my world. So I had to tell myself, I had to force myself, like don't do no work, just watch TV. It was like that. But anyway, this episode is brought to you by BlueSpace.com, a place where you can talk with friends about several different topics. It's also brought to you by the Really Hood podcast. You can check it out at reallyhood.com. All right, so this episode was crazy. I got a lot to say, but I'm gonna try to wrap it up very quickly because I don't want to, just be ranting for the entire time. But this episode starts off very lukewarm. This is probably one of the slower episodes because it just I feel like that it was a lot of filler. They wanted to get you, inundated with all these different topics while we wait for the game. They wanted to build up excitement. I hated it. They talked about the sportscaster and the things he does. They took the guys to a retreat. And one question I'll start off with is the whole retreat concept a smart concept? I think what happens is when a team is starting out, they're kind of wobbly. They're not really playing the best basketball. And what happens when that happens? The coach gets into their grill. The coach is pushing them. The coach is like, y'all got to do better. And then what happens when they finally start doing better and start winning? The coach pumps the brakes and takes them on retreats. Now, I know that the retreat concept is something that Coach Mosley seems to do every year. It's an annual thing. And I know why he does it. He does it to build camaraderie with the guys, especially before the playoffs. But could this be the reason why Coach Mosley has not won a state championship? It was Einstein who said, to do the exact same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is, crazy. It's not a good idea. And I'm starting to try to figure out, why is Coach Mosley not winning a state championship? While I'm watching these episodes, that's what's rolling through my mind. Like, what? I'm trying to spot his deficiencies and trying to understand, like, what is Coach doing that is not getting him over the hump? I'm going to start with number one: retreats. Don't ever take your foot off the gas. Don't have fun. And I know that sounds terrible, but don't have fun. Don't do anything that's not practicing. When it comes to the nitty gritty on a basketball court in the playoffs, what's going to get you that win? That extra 5 seconds of practice, not zip lining. Because that's what they did. It was zip lining, barbecue, and all that kind of stuff. If you're going to do stuff like that, do that at the start of the season. To do that at the end of the season towards the playoffs, I would argue that's not the best approach. Also, we saw some things in this episode that I would argue was very indicting. Is that a word? I feel like it's made up a word. But I don't know if Last Chance You was trying to set ELAC up or what, but the producers, the cameramen went to the dorms at ELAC. And like I said, I don't know if this was an indictment or what, but it was so depressing. Go check out the thumbnail for this video, episode 7's reaction, and you will see some screenshots I was able to pull from, just watching the episode. The toilet was destroyed and disgusting. There seems to be some some plumbing issues with the tub, so they have to take showers near the swimming pool up on the top floor because the dorm shower is like clogged up. And I'm like, oh yeah, then the kitchen was messed up. I'm like, whose fault is this? Is this ELAC's fault or is this the player's fault? And my final opinion is it's a little bit of both. ELAC's problem is not fixing plumbing and making sure that there's not routine janitorial services to clean things up. It's the player's fault with the kitchen. If you just look at the screenshots or you saw the episode, you saw the kitchen. It was trash on top of trash on top of trash. And if you look at what else was it? The sink. It was just garbage on top of garbage. I'm like, who lives like this? This is crazy. And the funny thing is, as much as I wanted to criticize those guys, I remember being in college and it wasn't that bad, okay? Because that was really bad. But I remember being quite the slob back in college because you just with your boys, you're not thinking about cleaning, that kind of thing. But I was very surprised that Last Chance U's cameraman put that on the show because I'm like, yo, that's terrible publicity. Like, if anybody is looking for any dirt on ELAC, that episode 7, is everything that they would need. If I was ELAC, and there's a such thing called public relations, PR. You don't want that to go out to anybody. Okay, I would have definitely put into the contract, we would like to have a final say of approval on every episode that goes out. We want to see every episode. It feels like this got past the editors at ELAC. Okay. And they just like, hey guys, we trust you. We know your work. You're really good. I would have definitely put a heart on this episode and censored it heavily. All right. But anyway, this episode, we finally get some playoff talk. We saw the rankings, and I want to quickly talk about one point that happened right before the playoffs. And there was a conversation between Coach Rob, Josh, and Brian Penn. Okay, you should know how all these people look by this point, but I can tell you right now, there's my main man Josh. Right, it was between Coach Rob, Josh, and my main man Brian Penn. Okay, and I don't have a picture of Coach Rob at the moment, but you know how Coach Rob looks. I think if you don't, look at the thumbnail. That's Coach Rob on the I think it's on the left side. So anyway, they were having a conversation in the locker room, and it seemed like it was only those three. And this is where the title of this episode comes from, because I want to know, does a losing mindset contribute to a loss? They were having a conversation about what would happen if they lost. And I just couldn't help myself but wonder, wow, why are these guys having this conversation? It's like, if you're going to win, if you have a winning mindset, you don't even consider losing. And in this particular conversation, it was Brian Penn talking about, hey, coach, so if we lose, well, I got to come back with you guys. I got to ride back with you guys. Is it going to be any hard feelings if I just dip? And Coach Rob was like, hey, look, man, I'm going to just tell you like this. If we lose and you want to go to Toledo or Ohio, or wherever you want to go, nobody's really going to be tripping like that, because at that point, the season's over. And Josh even started talking about, hey, so what happens if we lose? And they're just talking about losing for about 5 minutes. And I started thinking to myself, if you're a winner, you don't even consider losing. The minute you start allowing yourself to accept a loss or accept losing, that is how you play. And I just could not sit back, watch that, and not ask that question. And I'm gonna tell you what else I got from that scene. I got from that scene that Brian Penn is not quite committed to East LA, and maybe he shouldn't be at this point. I think he's definitely proven himself to be someone that is pretty high caliber, if I might be honest. I had fluctuating opinions on him throughout the season. Definitely was cold in the beginning. Now I'm pretty hot on Brian Penn. I think he's definitely proved his point, proved what he can do. Now that he's actually found his rhythm. But I'll be honest with you, mentally, I still question him. I think physically he's shown his capabilities, but mentally, I certainly question him. He seems to be a player that is focused on his outcome. And while that does make sense, while that might make sense at the NBA level, where guys really only care about themselves, their shoe deals, their commercials, that's fine. But at the JUCO level, especially, and also at the NCAA level, I would imagine that you still have to play team basketball and think of the team. Now, he still does. I'm not going to paint him as a ISO only focus on himself kind of player. But when he says that, I can't help but envision him as that kind of person. Okay, you're thinking about, hey, if we lose, I'm out of here. Like, that's what I got from that. When he was talking, I was translating everything he was saying based on my understanding of the game and talking to guys, basketball players. He was saying, look, hey, coach, if we lose, I'm out of here because I already got offers lined up. That's what that sounded like to me. And I thought that was just a bad conversation to have, in my personal opinion. That's just how I feel about that. Now we get to the rankings, the college rankings, and you heard quite a few things about the ranking, and they were not happy about where things lined up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, is this here. You will not be able to see that. I do apologize in advance, but just trust me on this. All right. So ELAC got they were ranked 7th out of the entire state, if I'm not mistaken. Please forgive me if I am, but I believe they were ranked 7th amongst all competitors in the playoffs. And according to Coach Mosley, Coach Ken, Coach Rob, they were very, very upset about this placement. Now, I do want to point out some things that I would argue makes a little sense. First off, ELAC was 24-4. That is a heck of a record. In fact, in this episode, I believe we heard that they went on a 16-game win streak. That's prior to the playoffs. How amazing is that? They went 16 straight. That's incredible. And they were placed 7th. Now, if you look at maybe 6th place, if you look at 5th place, 4th place, you see 23-4. You even got, I believe it was 6th place, that's 22. And I can look at it. I don't know why I'm trying to remember it. But when I look at 6th place, I want to say they were, 22-6, right? So I would imagine that if you're ELAC, you're looking at a team that's 22-6 while you're 24-4. You're like, hey, what happened? We got more wins. And I think that the board that actually selects the rankings are looking at the quality of the wins. Like, okay, you won more games, but this team actually beat stronger competitors. But I couldn't ignore the elephant in the room, and that was West LA. Ugh. All right, so if you don't know, East LA went against, I want to say their name is Cerritos, something like that. And their record, Cerritos, their record is 17-10. So when you look at the numbers, because I believe in basketball, you are your record, you are what your record says. So that should have been a very easy game. Cerritos 17-10 versus ELAC 24-4. Am I right? Is it 24-4? It is. So I'm thinking to myself, this should be a walk in the park. And just after Cerritos, if they are to win, they go against West LA. Okay, or I should say West LA and the winner of the San Diego and Saddleback game, which we know it doesn't really matter. West LA is going to win that easy. But I would imagine that the next episode is going to be East LA versus West LA because, as you know, I don't look at spoilers. I don't look ahead and try to figure out what's going to happen. Nothing. So I know that the next episode is going to be East LA versus West LA because East LA did exactly what I expected. They beat Cerritos, whatever the name is. They beat them. And let's give them some credit. I'm talking about Cerritos, Feliz Navidad, whatever they name. I don't know how to say this name. All right. But Cheerios, how do you say this? Okay, I want to say good job to those guys though, because first off, Coach Mosley, Coach Rob said that those guys were haters, and they felt as if that team did not like ELAC being as good as they are, considering that for a long time ELAC was below Cerritos. All right, every time I say it, all right, they were below. So to see ELAC rise, I think Coach Rob and Coach Mosley felt like they was hating on them, hating on their growth. But anyway, I want to point out the game itself. Man, this was a crazy game, and shout out to Cerritos for all the 3-point shots they made. I think Coach Rob even said it at the end of the game. It felt like they made like 12 3-pointers. This game was incredibly frustrating because for a number of reasons. Number one, these guys, East LA, seemed to make this game incredibly difficult. While they were up in the first half, it was just they never ran away with the game. It felt like they were always losing. Even when you look at the scoreboard and you see that East LA is up, you still feel like this team is losing. And it was so hard to watch because you're like, East LA, what are y'all doing? It felt like when I watched the game, it was a slashing 2-point heavy team versus a 3-point specialist team. Cerritos is like all Steph Curry's for some reason. And I'm going to tell you exactly why the game was close. Okay. The reason the game was close is because East LA's defense got exposed. East LA had to be running a 2-3 zone or a 1-3-1 zone or something to that effect, or a 3-2 zone. They were running some type of zone. And credit to Cerritos for having great passing ability and the ability to knock down shots, because what was happening was the East LA defense was in their zone. At least that's what it appeared to be from just watching it from an edited version of the show. It seemed like East LA was set in a zone and Cerritos was out passing the zone. So they'll start at the top of the key, pass to the left wing, pass back up to the top of the key, pass to the right wing, and right wing will be wide open. Why? Because their zone is trying to shuffle with all these passes, and their zone was not quick enough to actually keep up with this great passing ability from Cerritos. And this was leaving Cerritos players wide open to take shots. That's what happened. If East LA had lost this game, ELAC has lost this game, it would have been because their zone got exposed. And the reason I know this is because we lost the game very similar to this, where we were like kicking butt the entire game. However, at the end of the game, the team that we were playing just started getting hot from three. And that's because after halftime, which we were up at that point, their coach started to realize, wait, they're in a 1-3-1 zone. And as such, we can start to expose that zone if you guys make good passes around the wing and also hit your shots. And that's exactly what they did. And they beat us by like 5 points. And I thought that was going to happen in the Cerritos and ELAC game, where their zone was just getting destroyed. And I believe what Coach Mosley should have done was go man to man. I'm not sure if he did it because I couldn't tell off the edited version, but he should have certainly gone man to man. And this would have kept the zone from being outpassed and outplayed. This would allow every player to find someone and everyone to be accountable for somebody. I think that adjustment was missing, a man-to-man adjustment. That's probably what caused this game to be so close. Also, I hate to talk about this guy because this is my guy. If you've been watching these, You know, I'm really big on Damani. I think he's a great player. I'm a big fan of his game, and I don't think I have a picture of him at the moment because oh, here he is. This is my man right here. All right, Damani Whitlock. This was one of his weaker games. You know, I'm a big fan of Damani. I think he's that kind of player that you need on a team, a championship team. You need somebody who's going to play defense. You need somebody who's going to be a vocal captain. You're going to need somebody who's going to take charges and do all the grunt work. That's who Damani is to me when I see him on the court. But he made some boneheaded plays down the stretch, trying to go for alley-oops with like 2 minutes on the clock. And it was an unadvised alley-oop. The other player wasn't quite ready to receive it. It was a lot of nerves involved. I'm like, God, it was like 2 minutes left in the game. All you had to really do was get the ball across half court and just make clean, solid passes. And guess what? Hold the ball and wait for the other team to foul. But in this case, you had bad passes. I think Josh dropped a pass or two. They just made these boneheaded passes and got several turnovers in crunch time. And I was just like, guys, do y'all know how easy this game is to win from this point? You guys are up like 5 points. Hold the ball and draw the foul. That's all you got to do. And they just kept doing crazy stuff. It was so hard to watch. I'm like, dude, this is just. And I'm going to throw a little criticism at Coach Mosley on the account that he didn't have much to say. Like at the end of the first half, and when it started getting dicey in the second half, Damani throwing weird passes, all stuff. And but before I go too far, I want to give Damani a shout out because, man, the charge that he took in this game was so hard that I felt it through the TV. Damani took one of the hardest charges, and it made me realize this is why he lost a tooth, because he's taking football hits without pads. That's or without a helmet. Damani is crazy. Like, this is the kind of psycho player that you need, at least one of them on your team. If you got one, you're blessed to have him, because Damani he's the guy who's he's not a Brian Penn. No disrespect to Brian Penn Johnson. But he's not thinking about leaving his guys behind. He's not thinking about D1. He's thinking about winning for this team, and then the rest will happen. I think somebody watching Damani is going to say, yo, we need that guy. He might not start, but we can put him, we can do a lot with this kind of guy. He's a leader. We need those kind of guys in the locker room. He might go D2 more than likely, right? But anyway, no shade to Brian Penn Johnson. I'm just saying that did kind of cross me in a way that was a little selfish, just not thinking about the big picture. Like, hey, Brian Penn Johnson, what would be better than being eliminated from the playoffs and going to a D1 college? How about winning the state championship and then going to a D1 college? I didn't feel like his mindset was there, and that's why I'm bringing up that criticism. But I was just a little worried about that. But I want to throw a little concern about Coach Mosley about how he handled the game. Now, I understand the perspective that Coach Mosley was playing from. He was like, look, this is the end of the season. I've screamed enough. I've said enough. If these guys don't want it, then it's nothing I can say. That is the mindset that Coach Mosley was operating from. And I believe that mindset might not have been the best one. I'm not going to criticize Coach Mosley much. I'm just going to give my opinion, and I'll let it be what it be. I'll release it to the atmosphere like a dove, and I'll let it fly or fall. But if he is someone who hasn't won a state championship, and it's my understanding that as of this moment, Coach Mosley has not won a championship at the JUCO level. If that is true, then we have to start to figure out why. He was just too calm. Okay, it was too calm, and I know why. I've been a coach before. You're like, I've told these guys so many times, you just run out of anger, you run out of scream, you run out of instruction because you've told them so many times. And it's like, hey guys, this is your life. If you don't want it, then it's nothing I can do to force you to have it. But I still believe that Coach Mosley was too relaxed, and you saw Coach Rob being more animated than Coach Mosley at times. When Damani's making the pass and Josh is dropping the ball, Coach Ken, Coach Rob, they were more animated than Coach Mosley. And even when they went to the locker room after the first half, Coach Mosley didn't say much. He just like, hey guys, take care of the ball, and we got this. Finish on 3. 1, 2, 3. It was like, no, coach, that's not. You need to hit them with, hey, lock down a 3. All they shot was 3s. I mean, when you see a team, and I know how difficult it is to make an adjustment when you're in the game. That's something that he'll catch in film, especially now that it's on Netflix. He'll catch that in film and probably improve it next year. But the point is, That's what he should have been talking to his guys about. Like, hey, I'm looking at the score sheet and I'm seeing that these guys are about 13 for 20 from the three-point line. And guys, I'm seeing that 70% of their baskets came from three. Hey, coach, you might want to lock down the wing. I'm just saying that's something you want to talk about, because motivation and rah-rah can only get you so far. Because when you go against a coach that understands the X's and O's, and not only do they understand it, but they know how to coach it, especially in intense moments, then I think that Coach Mosley will continue to hit a roadblock, because those NCAA coaches, it's not just about passion. And I think that's where Coach Mosley falls short as a coach, and why he hasn't won a state championship. Because at a certain point, he gets out coached, because he's still relying on passion. He's still relying on drive. He's still relying on toughness when the game becomes more technical. And I think that's where he falls short. And that's being as respectful as I can be, because first off, let's get something out the way. For a coach to get his or her team to the playoffs is an immaculate achievement. But if we're talking about state championships, you have to turn off the rah-rah and turn up the X's and O's. And I think that's what Coach Mosley has to improve on if he's going to win the state championship. And this episode showed me. And now it could be that Netflix did not show that in the edited version of the show, because it's not fun to watch and you want to keep the drama up. But that's what it came across as to me as I'm watching. He was still hoping that the guys would just kind of dig deep. Come on, guys, we can do this. Like, that is good for the regular season. In the playoffs, you need to start talking strategy. Hey, we need a double on number this and that. Keep the ball off the wings. We need block. He needs that kind of vernacular being sprouted out. But I want to also talk about Shamar. I've been trying to empathize with Shamar, and I don't know why I'm going all the way back here. I'm segueing back for some reason, because Shamar just came to my mind, because he was on the bench the entire time and he was very frustrated. And as a coach, I understand these kind of players. And even as a player, I understand this. I played football and I just really didn't get a lot of looks from the coach. So I get it from both perspectives. But Shamar was just heated on the bench because he felt as if, he could impact the game. And when he saw things that did not go his way, he was very, very frustrated. And he has a mic on at all times. So you're hearing all of his conversations. He's cursing. He's upset. He basically looks like he's going to quit the team. And what I think Shamar might be missing is he had the entire season to show what he was capable of. And unfortunately, he hasn't shown consistency. When you get to the playoffs, Shamar, if you would ever see this, you probably wouldn't. But this is for any player. If you get to the playoffs and your coach is not playing you, it's because you haven't shown consistency in one thing or another. In the playoffs, coaches usually shrink their lineup. If they're playing 12 players in a regular season, they might rely more on 7 guys when we get to the playoffs. And that is because these 7 guys have shown Coach Mosley or any coach that they do one thing right. If we look at Shamar's performance and just character throughout the entire season, sometimes he didn't come to practice. I mean, it might have just been one or two times, but those 1 or 2 times is all that it takes for a coach to lose trust in you. And it might not even be just that. Even in the game, if you had a turnover, coaches hate turnovers. If you had a turnover at a crucial point, that was the nail in the coffin. I know it's not fair, but we're talking about a competitive game where every possession counts. A turnover is the fastest way for a coach to say, I won't try it. Not right now. Not while the game is close. And also, practice is where it all happens. If you're not showing out in practice, if you're not taking on the best player on the team, if you're somebody on the bench and you're not getting any PT, in practice, you got to go at the player that's getting all the PT. You got to do that. And you not only got to go at that player, you have to show that you're better, because most players on the bench, they have this delusion that they're the best player on the team. I've noticed that. And if that is true in practice, you got a gun for the best player competitively, not as if they're an enemy, but show that you're competitive and you belong on the same level as that player. That's what Shamar has to do. And, it was really hard. This might sound bad, but it was really hard watching and listening to Shamar in this episode, because he just wasn't representing himself correctly. And I understood, because I've been Shamar's age. I believe in this episode, he was 21. And my goodness, thank Thank the Lord above, there was no camera following me around at 21 that was broadcasting to millions of people, because man, it would have been a bad, it wouldn't be this guy. All right. So I'm not going to be unfair to Shamar. He is 21 and he deserved the space and the grace to grow and, become the person that he's going to be. But buddy, come on. All right. Listen, I'm all about hip hop and rapping cool. I rap myself. I got a rap website. I get all that. But there's a such thing as poor representation. And this episode showed that like no other. Not only did we see where Shamar and other guys are sleeping, and we saw the dorm room. Just go look at my thumbnail. All right, it was just terrible. The bed had chips on it, bags of chips. It was a dead rat in the corner. The bed, I'm like, how y'all? It's two people sleeping in a twin size bed full of crap and trash and garbage and pantyhose and all. I'm like, what is this? They had the TV right next to the bed. I'm talking about right next to the bed. Like somebody just be laying down and the TV be right here. I'm like, bro, y'all don't even got a nightstand. Like this is crazy. All right. So anyway, you had that. That was poor representation for Shamar. It's like if I'm a coach and I'm watching Last Chance U basketball, and I'm just like, hey, I just want to see what's going on. Man, I'm telling you, Shamar did not do himself any favors. No win shares here. Did not earn any win shares in terms of reputation and character building. None of that happened. And then when he talks, oh my gosh, man, it's like you got to turn off the hip hop sometimes. I'm just, just watching this episode, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, I was just like, yo, you gotta go. I'm like, bro, it's called a sentence. Talk in a sentence. It's just like the weirdest. Like, I understand hip hop. Obviously, look at my skin. I understand hip hop. I had my day as well. But it was just like, bro, turn it off for like 1 second so that we can understand what you're saying. Because what I don't think Shamar understands is at the higher levels of basketball, you got to know how to talk. I mean, how they gonna put you in a commercial for Nike? What you gonna say? Yeah, so check out these, these black, these bangs, these things is dope, you know what I'm saying? Because like I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Your body's Nike's like, you got to go to Foot Locker, like, yo, go to Finish Line. I'm hip, like, yo, check it. I'm like, bro, ain't nobody gonna buy them shoes because we don't know what you're talking about. It's like they're trying to fit this mold, and this mold is a poor representation. Now, if you're going to go be a drug dealer, great job. But if you're going to be a professional basketball player, you have to be, guess what? Here it is. Wait a minute. Professional. Who knew? All right. And that is all that I'll say about Shamar. Like I said, he deserves grace. He's 21. But something I would hate to see this guy 10 years from now, and he has not learned how to turn the hip hop off for just 5 minutes so we can understand how intelligent that I know he is. He's at junior college. He can't be stupid, but it's such thing called representation. You're representing yourself as if you cannot speak in a clear sentence. Damn. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, bro, I can't watch this no more. But anyway, so yes, as you see, ELAC did go on to beat Cerritos, and very close game, way closer than it should have been. And I think it's because of all the things I've already mentioned, not breaking the zone and going to man-to-man, things like that. Now, it's time to just get it out the way, okay? So there's only one more episode left, and there are, I want to say, 4 games left. I don't know. I forget what they said. I think it's 4 games left. I think it was 5 total. They just beat Cerritos, and they go against West Los Angeles. And then, they got 3 more games if they would have beat West LA. Now, the fact that there's only one more episode left, I think we know what happens. West LA beats them. It has to be. Like, if they were going to beat West LA, it would not just be one more episode. And I've already looked. The episode is like an hour long. So that tells me that West LA beat East LA. Now, I haven't seen this. I haven't Googled nothing. I haven't looked in the articles or nothing. I haven't even previewed the next episode. I'm just using logic. They only got one more episode left, and their next game is West LA. And West LA looks strong. I mean, West LA looks strong. And even Coach Rob said it. Coach Rob said there's only 2 teams that they struggle with in that conference, and West LA is one of them. And if you look at how bad they were against a 17-10 team, they are not even close to what. That's because they took a retreat. They didn't, it's like, I think Coach Mosley, he takes his foot off the gas because he starts to gain a relationship with the guys, right? He starts to become their friend. He starts to know them. He starts to love them. He starts to care about them. So as a result, he stops pushing them. And it's the worst time to do it. And it's so hard not to change as the relationships change. But he's going to have to dig deep. I mean, there's a reason why this team went on a 17 after they beat Cerritos. It's a reason why they went on a 17 game win streak because Coach Mosley was digging in their rear parts after a certain loss. Like, we can't have this happen no more. I forget what loss it was, but it was their worst loss of the season. And after that, he snapped. He went crazy. And I felt like he started to push the brakes around this game right here. They looked terrible. Can we just get that out of the way? East LA looked really bad against a very, very mediocre team. And all it took was one adjustment with the whole zone thing. I think it was a zone. I don't know how a man-to-man can't get beat that bad. All right, unless you double team it. But anyway, I think that West LA at this particular episode, West LA is 25-3. So they're actually one game better than East LA. And I think that Coach Mosley did some scouting, and it turns out that West LA beat whatever team they had to go against, and they were down 10 points in the last 8 minutes of the game, right? Did you hear that? West LA was down. What was it? They were down 10 points in the final 8 minutes. So West LA could have lost, but then West LA went on a run and destroyed the other team because at some point the X's and O's matter. And I would argue, I don't know this for a fact, but I would make the argument that if you're down 10 and you still win the game, that's because the coach went to the X's and the O's. All right, like, hey guys, the reason, it's always a reason. You're not losing because you're not passionate. You're not losing because you're not focused. You're not losing a game because you're not serious. That's not why you're losing. You're losing based on a technicality. There's something that they're doing that is more successful than what you're doing. And if you're down 10 and you're going to win the game by 15 points, that's because somebody is looking at film. They have a really good coach on their staff that's saying, hey, we're losing because number 15 has hit the last 12 shots. And he's taking most of his shots from the right wing. So guess what, guys? We're going to have to double number or whatever. Or, hey, we got to shut down the right wing. Or when he gets the ball in the right wing, we got to double. Like, the X's and O's is what happens. That's how you overcome a 10-point deficit and then go on to win by 15 points. Okay? So West LA is clearly decently coached, right? And so is East LA for all intents and purposes. But the point is, this next episode, they're going to go against West LA. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're going to lose to West LA. Based on how Coach Mosley said it himself. He said, when he was talking to his wife, he said, we won, babe, but it felt like we lost. And that's exactly my sentiments. I saw the game. I saw them win the game. But I'm like, yo, there's no way that this was not a good game. This was a win-loss. Have you ever heard of that before? Me either. It was a game that you won, but you lost. It's like going against your bully, right? And you knock him out, but he hit you like 8 times to your 3 punches. That's what like you got to hit 8 times, and you hit him 3 times while your head was snapping back, and he fell out. Like, you won, but at the same time, you got hit like 8 times, and your lip busted, and your teeth missing. But you won, though. Good job. That's what this game was. And I'm like, this team cannot for 1 second think that they have arrived. Okay, if they struggled that bad in the first round against a 17-10 team, they have no shot at winning at all. And I'm telling you, I'm very tempted to just go ahead and watch this next episode because I'm just like, let's get it out the way. There's no way they're not, unless they're gonna beat West LA and then look like they're gonna group all these games in one episode. I doubt that, especially when you look at how much filler was in this episode. It was so much filler. We're learning about a guy who do metal work. That's how slow this episode was, right? So, and by the way, shout out to Dan. I ain't hating. All right, I like Dan. All right, I'm just saying that's how much filler was in this episode. So, yeah, it's got to be a wrap for East LA against West LA. That's my prediction. All right, but anyway, thank you for checking us out. I might just go ahead and watch this last episode, like for real. Like, I might just go watch it out for real. Hey, that's Shamar's favorite word, like for real. But anyway, no, I might check it out because I can see the writing on the wall with this game, this team. West LA gonna put a hurt on these boys, and if it happens, it will be probably because Coach Mosley didn't push him. Like, I want to see this episode. I want to see the build up to the game. I want to see if he tells them they suck that game. I want to see him talk to them from a technical standpoint, not just screaming and yelling like, hey, This is what happened. That is what happened. This is what happened. I want to see that. I want to see X's and O's, technical talk. I don't want to see screaming and yelling and punching lockers. And plus, this group of guys are so emotional. Like, you got to come with them. You got to come to them, rather, from a more analytical standpoint to show them why you're having errors. Why, you know what I'm saying? That's where he needs to come from. And I think that's the growth that Coach Mosley needs to jump into in order to get to that next level. But that's just a opinion of mine. I could be wrong. But anyway, thank you for checking us out, y'all. I will check out this next episode, and I will, give my reaction on it. But I think I already know what's going to happen. But nevertheless, stay safe. I'll holler at you.